I'm clearly just a blind person. Yet somehow there's a girl willing to offer herself to me, even declaring she'd marry no one but me, all because of an unreliable system I possess. In order to restore my sight, I've been enduring the system's increasingly absurd check-in tasks, and this time, the check-in location turned out to be a piano classroom. I was sitting in front of a piano, waiting for several minutes, but the system's voice still hadn't appeared. Could it be that I actually need to play a piece first? I was puzzling over this when two young women walked into the piano classroom. "Luo, Luo, your figure is honestly enviable," said one of the girls, glancing at the other. "No wonder there were so many wolves staring at you the whole way here." "Stop it," said Luo Shiyu, nudging Su Ling. Su Ling grinned. "See? I told you. There's even a wolf here on a Saturday." She pointed in my direction. Luo Shiyu noticed that I had been looking toward her the entire time. "Staring openly like that, this is certainly a first," she muttered, then called out to me. "Classmates staring like that isn't very polite, you know?" I furrowed my brow, still debating internally whether or not I should play something. The voices nearby were being automatically filtered out by my mind. "I'm blind, she must be talking to someone else. He's even frowning. Is he actually dissatisfied?" Su Ling said, annoyed at my expression. By now, Luo Shiyu was irritated too. Seeing that I still hadn't reacted, her expression darkened, and she walked straight over to me. Before I realized what was happening, a pair of hands shoved me, and with no way to catch my balance, I toppled backward and fell to the floor. "That'll teach you to keep staring," Luo Shiyu said in a quiet, fierce voice. Just as the two of them were about to turn and leave, Luo Shiyu suddenly noticed me sitting on the ground, my hands blindly feeling around the surrounding area. "Luo, Luo, look." Su Ling let out a startled gasp at the same moment, her finger pointing to the white cane leaning against the piano beside me. "What have I done?" Luo Shiyu froze on the spot when she saw the cane. She had just shoved someone, and a blind, disabled person, no less. I deserved to die, she thought, and she wanted nothing more than to slap herself. She hurried over, helped me up, and handed me the cane. "Thank you, you're so kind," I said softly, taking the cane. As for who had shoved me, I didn't particularly care. After all, I was used to being mistreated. Hearing me thank her only made the guilt in Luo Shiyu's heart surge to its peak. "It's fine. Please be careful," she said. Her face flushed red as she gently helped me sit back down. Hearing that warm, gentle voice, I smiled shyly. "Thanks to you. Last time I lost my cane and spent ages looking for it." At those words, Luo Shiyu nearly buried her face in her chest from shame. "Luo, Luo, I feel like such a terrible person," she whispered. Su Ling beside her was equally guilt-ridden, and thinking back on what she'd said earlier, she felt like punching herself. I sat at the piano for a while, and when the noise around me gradually faded, I assumed the two girls had already left. I let out a quiet sigh and placed my fingers on the keys. The system had been silent for so long, maybe I should just try playing something. My movements caught the attention of Luo Shiyu and Su Ling, who exchanged a puzzled glance. Can he really find the right keys? He's blind. Sure enough, the very first note I touched was wrong. Watching me grope awkwardly across the keys with both hands, helpless and uncertain, that wave of guilt hit Luo Shiyu all over again. While she was lost in her thoughts, I had already run my fingers over every single key on the piano, mapping them all. "Here we go," I exhaled deeply and began to play. The music rose up, startling both Luo Shiyu and Su Ling out of their guilty reverie. Before they could even process their surprise, I had already finished the prelude. "I wonder how long it's been since I last heard you tell me your favorite story." The flowing melody, carried by a voice rich with lived experience, reached out and seized something deep in both girls' chests, leaving them breathless. "I'm willing to become the angel you love in a fairy tale, to spread my arms and grow wings and watch over you. You have to believe that like a fairy tale, our ending will be one of happiness and joy." Luo Shiyu's eyes were red with tears. She didn't know what this person had been through, but she knew he had suffered deeply in matters of the heart, and to think she had just bullied him, that realization became too much to bear. Her legs gave way beneath her, and she sank to the ground in guilt. Luo, Luo, the two of us are awful people. Su Ling sobbed beside her, every bit as overcome, tears streaming down her face like rain on a pear blossom. At the very moment the song ended, the system chimed. Ding, check-in successful. Dispensing random check-in reward. My heart leapt with hope. Maybe this time the reward would restore my eyesight. Ding, reward dispensed. Song, You Are My Eyes. Next check-in location, tomorrow's star competition venue. Reward, random. The song's full details flooded into my mind. I was mildly disappointed, but quickly steadied myself. I'd been going without sight for so long, I was used to it. I let out a quiet sigh, placed one hand on the edge of the piano, and stood up. The next instant I sucked in a sharp breath. My leg had fallen asleep. My entire right leg was numb and tingling with every movement. There was nothing I could do. I took my cane in one hand and limped out of the room. Seeing my uneven gait, Luo Shiyu assumed I'd been hurt when she pushed me and hadn't recovered. I have to go apologize to him in person, she decided, and set off after me. She quickly spotted me, but worried that rushing over might frighten me. She thought it over and decided to follow at a distance, waiting until I stopped somewhere before engineering a chance encounter. Unaware that anyone was following me, I kept track of the time. It would be getting dark soon, so I needed to hurry. Before long, I arrived at my destination, a plaza not far from the school. It was past 6 in the evening, and the plaza was busy with people out for an evening stroll. A 4-piece band, 3 men and a woman, was performing a popular song on a small stage in the plaza, surrounded by a crowd of onlookers. I followed the sound and made my way into the crowd. Behind me, Luo Shiyu watched, puzzled, as I pushed through the crowd toward the front. He came all the way here just to watch a street performance. She hurried after me. When I finally reached the front, I was standing beside the band, taking advantage of their break to hand out water and wipe down their instruments. "Little blind one, you're late today," said the female member of the band, smiling, though her smile carried a faint edge of mockery. "Something came up at school," I said, wiping down an electronic keyboard. This was the only job I'd been able to find. Every other place I'd tried had turned me away because I was blind. But this band came to the plaza 3 times a week, and during their breaks, all they needed was someone to wipe down their instruments and fetch water. That earned me 50 yuan, my only source of living expenses. As I was cleaning the electronic keyboard, my fingers brushed a few of the keys. The sound was slightly off. With my master-level piano skills, I caught it immediately. "Li Jie, this keyboard's gone out of tune." I pressed the 3 offending keys again. "The sound's wrong." Li Jie paused, then laughed and shook her head. "Impossible. It's an electronic keyboard. It can't go out of tune." "No, I think a component might have come loose." I pressed the keys a few more times and felt certain. Despite my insistence, the band members all looked skeptical. I reached out and began feeling along the keyboard's interior, running my fingers across its components. The band members watched and shook their heads. All right. Start the next song," the lead vocalist said, waving a hand to signal Li Jie to get rid of me. Li Jie nodded and walked over. "Little blind one, move aside. We're about to start." She looked at me impatiently. "Just a moment, almost done." Li Jie's brow furrowed. She was about to pull me aside when I suddenly stood up, played a short passage on the keys, and after about 10 seconds gave a small nod. "There you go, Li Jie." Li Jie stared at me with a complicated expression. The passage I just played truly did sound different from before. The tone had shifted noticeably. But what surprised her even more wasn't that. It was the passage itself. She had never heard anything like it. Brief as it was, barely 10 seconds, the mournful quality of the melody had struck something deep within her. The other band members exchanged glances, having all heard the same thing. Their astonishment was no less than Li Jie's. "Little blind one, was that something you wrote?" Li Jie asked, studying me with a complicated look. I hesitated, then nodded. "The system gave it to me, but I suppose it counts as mine." "What's it called?" the guitarist asked eagerly. It's a song. It's called You Are My Eyes. At that name, all 4 members fell silent, their eyes drifting with complex expressions toward mine. Chen An, the lead vocalist, said, stepping toward me, "Do you want to try being lead vocalist?" I was about to refuse when a voice suddenly rang out in my mind. Side mission activated. Check-in location. This stage. Sing 1 song. Reward. Random. By now, a sizable crowd had gathered below the stage. Luo Shiyu was among them. When she saw the band walk out, followed by someone carrying a white cane, everyone went still. What's this? Has the band turned into a blind person's show? The vocalist and guitarist carried the electronic keyboard up to the stage while I followed behind with my cane. The audience immediately lost interest. What could a blind person possibly play? He probably can't even find the keys. As I sat down, roughly a third of the crowd wandered off. Luo Shiyu stood in the front row, ignoring the murmuring around her, eyes fixed on me. On stage, I sat before the keyboard, my unfocused gaze drifting out toward the crowd. Then a flowing, melodic sound rose into the air. At once, the entire plaza went quiet. Disbelief spread across every face. A blind person playing like this? The magnetic voice, heavy with the weight of a story, opened, and with the very first line, everyone's noses began to tingle. "Let me give you a hug." When the second verse began, no one could hold it together anymore, especially not Luo Shiyu. A sharp ache bloomed in her chest. The second verse continued in English as originally performed. Luo Shiyu was by now a tearful wreck. She was a sentimental person, and she could hardly begin to imagine how lost and lonely a blind person must feel in a world teeming with people. If only there were a pair of eyes, they could become the only light in this person's world. I had no idea what was happening below the stage. The song was now reaching its final passage. Because you are my eyes. And through you, I can see the world right here before me. The music ended. "Chenon, I want to become your eyes," Luo Shiyu shouted from below the stage. Her voice was swallowed up by the surrounding noise, but it didn't matter. She had already made up her mind. I sat quietly on stage as the sound of a completed mission chimed in my ears. Random reward dispensed, master-level guitar proficiency. Song, Someone Like Me. I sighed softly. When will I ever get a reward that actually restores my sight? "Little Chen An, you played beautifully. And sang beautifully too," Li Jie said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Thank you, Li Jie." I stood up, took my cane, and made my way backstage. The 4 band members watched my retreating figure with complicated expressions. None of them had imagined that a little blind person could carry such talent. Backstage, I resumed wiping down the instruments, completely unaware that someone was drawing closer to me. After finishing 1 guitar, I stood up and reached out for the next instrument, but there was a cable on the floor. Unable to see it, I pitched straight toward the ground. Careful. Luo Shiyu lunged forward and caught me. I was startled. As I regained my senses, I became aware that my face was enveloped in something soft and warm. I nearly choked. Luo Shiyu, registering the sensation at her chest, turned crimson from ear to ear and hastily pulled me upright. "Thank you," I said, taking a few deep breaths and smiling sheepishly. No problem," Luo Shiyu said in a small voice. Hearing that familiar voice, I was suddenly wide-eyed. "Lady Bodhisattva, it's you?" Not long after, I said a quick goodbye to the band members. Out on the plaza, Luo Shiyu took my arm and we walked on together, while I was still slightly stunned. All she did was get pushed by me once, and she followed me all the way from school here just to apologize. Luo Shiyu lowered her head and quietly confirmed it. By now, she also understood. My limp had been from a numb leg, not an injury. "You really are a lady bodhisattva," I said, genuinely amazed. Since going blind, this was the first time anyone had ever been this kind to me. "Wait here," I said, and with my cane, turned back toward the stage. Luo Shiyu hurried after me. "What are you going back for? I'll take you." "Tonight I'll make an exception. Ice cream's on me." I smiled shyly. At that, Luo Shiyu broke into a bright smile. 5 minutes later, the two of us were sitting by the roadside, each with an ice cream cone. Normally, I only let myself have one a month, I said, taking a small bite. Consider this one on me. Luo Shiyu looked at me, puzzled. Only once a month? Ice cream is cheap. It's only 4 yuan. I smiled. My monthly living expenses come from odd jobs, so I have to spend carefully. At those words, Luo Shiyu's nose ached. Something that meant nothing to her was, to someone else, a rare luxury. After sitting for a while, the two of us set off slowly back toward campus. Do you happen to know how to sign up for tomorrow's star? I asked. Since I couldn't see, I'd need someone else to help me register. Luo Shiyu's expression turned thoughtful. She had vaguely heard of the show. Are you thinking of entering? I nodded. Leave it to me, I'll sign you up, she said, patting her chest. Thank you so much. In that case, let me at least treat you to dinner. I'll treat you, Luo Shiyu said with a smile. Wait until you're a big star, then you can treat me. No, I said, waving my hand. There's no such thing as asking someone for a favor and then having them pay for the meal too. Then consider it a debt. Pay me back once you have money, she reasoned. I hesitated, reached into my pocket, felt the increasingly thin lining of my wallet, and could only nod. While we were making our way back to campus, a storm was breaking out online. A video was going viral and racking up shares and likes at a furious pace. A video titled, Blind Student Performs Original Piano Piece, You Are My Eyes. Back in the girls' dormitory at Capital University, Luo Shiyu tiptoed quietly to her bunk, climbed in, and opened her laptop to look up everything she could about tomorrow's star. Once she'd read through it all, she registered me for the competition. Then she put on her earphones, opened the video someone had recorded at the plaza, and drifted off to sleep with my voice in her ears. The next morning, Luo Shiyu woke to find Su Ling hovering over her with a devilish grin. You're awake, Luo. Confess, what were you up to last night? Su Ling demanded, placing both hands on Luo Shiyu's chest. Get your hands off me. Luo Shiyu knocked them away, her face pink. Considering who helped you get those, you could at least be grateful. Su Ling pouted enviously. Luo Shiyu shot her a look and checked her phone. It was already almost 9. She had no time to keep bickering. She quickly got up and started getting ready. She had promised to meet him for lunch and had no intention of being late. Watching Luo Shiyu rush about in a fluster, Su Ling caught the scent of something unusual in the air. Meanwhile, in the boys' dormitory, I had been awake for a while. Because of my blindness, the school had arranged for me to have a single room. I'd gotten up early and was doing my eye exercises, not that they'd done any good. Just then, my phone rang. I felt around for it, picked up my talking phone and answered. It was Luo Shiyu's voice. She was already waiting downstairs. At the same moment, outside the boys' dormitory, Luo Shiyu's arrival instantly drew the attention of every male student in sight. Is that not the Luo Daxiao Hua, the most beautiful girl on campus? She's actually here. And look, she's even holding breakfast. While the boys were buzzing with speculation, a figure appeared at the dormitory entrance. I came out with my cane, puzzled by the unusually loud chatter around me. What's going on? And why do I keep hearing Luo Shiyu's name? Below the dormitory, Luo Shiyu spotted me the moment I emerged. She jogged over, took my arm to steady me, and pressed the breakfast into my hands. The entire crowd fell silent. Everyone stared, wide-eyed, unable to believe what they were seeing. The campus beauty had been waiting for a blind person. Just now I thought I heard a lot of people talking about you, I said. Did you? Luo Shiyu gave a small smile. Well, you're not wrong. I'm considered a legend around here, so showing up like this is bound to cause a stir. I paused, then reached out and pressed my hand to her forehead. The sudden gesture left Luo Shiyu's face bright red. What are you doing? I nodded seriously. You do feel a bit warm. You might be running a fever. That's the only explanation for saying something like that. In my heart, a campus beauty of her caliber becoming involved with a blind person was simply unthinkable. It's true. I'm not joking, Luo Shiyu protested. Really? I shook my head. There was no point arguing. Luo Shiyu rolled her eyes, exasperated. Come on, it's almost noon. If we leave it much later, we won't get a table. She checked the time, then took my arm and led me away. From the dormitory windows above, a chorus of anguished cries rang out. Countless hopeful admirers sank to their knees. A blind person, how? And he didn't even seem particularly approachable. No matter how hard they racked their brains, they couldn't figure it out. They could only begin investigating who exactly was this blind person. It didn't take long before they uncovered something remarkable. In the course of their searching, they also unearthed the song I had sung at the plaza, and suddenly I became the subject of the most widespread campus attention I had ever received. At an upscale restaurant, Luo Shiyu settled me into a seat. This place smells good, I said, sniffing the air. Must not be cheap. It's not that fancy, she said, already signaling a server to bring menus. I let it go and quietly made a mental note of the favor. By the way, Luo Shiyu said, I've already registered you for tomorrow's star. She explained the competition. It was divided into 4 rounds: preliminary, elimination, semifinal, and final, and featured 3 separate tracks. Each contestant could choose the track that best suited them, and each track had one mentor overseeing it. The 3 tracks were the Supreme Demon soundtrack, focused on stage presence and rock performance; the Singular Spotlight track, focused on original songwriting and vocal ability; and the Jazz Elegance track, focused on singing and dancing. All 3 tracks ran simultaneously, with each mentor selecting 15 contestants for their track, after which the rounds of competition and elimination would begin. Your original songwriting is clearly a strength, Luo Shiyu said. So you might want to think about the Singular Spotlight track. I nodded. As long as I completed the check-in mission, I could find some excuse to withdraw afterward anyway. You'll need to start writing songs quickly then. The competition kicks off in just a few days, she added, looking at me with a hint of concern. It's fine. I happen to have one ready, I said, thinking of the song the system had just given me. Luo Shiyu relaxed slightly. Then another thought seemed to occur to her. What instruments does your song call for? Shouldn't you get some practice in beforehand? I don't think I need to, I said, shaking my head. That won't do. Luo Shiyu frowned. Besides ordinary performers, tomorrow's star draws trainees from entertainment companies who have full professional backing. Without something special, getting a spot is genuinely difficult. Do you play guitar? I paused, then nodded. Good. I'll get you a guitar. Practice when you have the time. No, I said firmly. Absolutely not. Luo Shiyu flinched, caught off guard by the bluntness. I quickly caught myself and softened my tone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's just even dinner already has me feeling a bit embarrassed. A guitar on top of that. Even without being able to see, I knew a decent guitar cost at least 1,000 yuan. But you'd use it for composing too, Luo Shiyu reasoned. Think of it as an investment. If you end up famous, maybe you can help me out in return. You genuinely think I'm going to become famous? I said, half laughing. With me backing you? Of course you will. The moment the words left her mouth, Luo Shiyu realized she'd said too much and quickly added, I mean, I'm a lucky charm. Anyone under my protection becomes famous wherever they go. I smiled and shook my head. I didn't take her words to heart. The very next day, Luo Shiyu appeared at the boys' dormitory with a guitar on her back. Her arrival once again drew every male student's gaze, and when they watched me leave with her, my white cane in hand, they were seething with envy. The 2 of us soon reached a small grove on campus. We sat down cross-legged on the ground. This is the guitar for you, Luo Shiyu said, holding it out. I hesitated, my expression uncertain. I made no move to take it. Luo Shiyu seemed to read my reluctance. She pushed it firmly into my hands and said, Like I said yesterday, call it my investment. Besides, you can't study music without a guitar. Fine. I could only accept it and silently resolve to pay her back when I had the means. Meanwhile, at the Tomorrow's Star production office, the show's assistant director, Chen Shu, was going through the list of contestants. A man standing beside him chuckled. There are people from quite a few agencies who have inserted their acts into this season. Chen Shu rubbed his temples, weary. The whole point of the show had been to find genuine, undiscovered musical talent from among ordinary people. But the moment the competition was announced, 3 major talent agencies had called in favors and installed their own trainees, snapping up nearly half the contestant spots. "Old Chen, this one looks interesting," the man said, pointing to a contestant's profile. "Chen An, second-year student at Capital University." Chen Shu looked it over, and in the next column, read the words, "blind." "Interesting, isn't it?" the man said, eyes lighting up with excitement. Chen Shu looked at him, puzzled. "Old Anne, what's so exciting about a blind person?" And Zizai smiled, a smile full of deeper meaning. "Weren't you just playing his song on repeat a few days ago?" said Chen Shu, his eyes going wide. The next day, Luo Shiyu brought me to the filming location of Rising Star. Along the way, he kept giving me instructions. "Once you're inside, don't be nervous. I'll be out here waiting for your good news," he said. I could only nod passively. "How did your clothes get dirty?" Luo Shiyu noticed a grimy mark on the back of my shirt. "That can't be right. I just washed this," I said, puzzled. Though things have been strange lately, there's always a weird smell in the dorm. Hearing this, Luo Shiyu immediately understood. Someone is messing with him. "That's too much." He let out a cold snort. "Chen-en, would you be interested in living off campus?" he asked, testing the waters. "Why would I live off campus?" I asked, confused. "Look, you're going on a show now. If you become famous, you'd have crowds swarming you on campus. That would end up being a nuisance for everyone." But I just shook my head, as if I'd actually get famous. I'll probably be eliminated in the first round. Besides, I can't afford to rent a place. Luo Shiyu, however, had other ideas. He planned to use the few days I'd be away to clean up that apartment he had in mind. Imperial Capital Stadium. After dropping me off with the production staff, Luo Shiyu left. A staff member led me inside. Several contestants who caught a glimpse of me were curious. There was actually a blind contestant on the show. I went to the waiting room and lay straight down on the bed. A knock at the door followed shortly. "Chen-an, I'm a staff member handling contestant information registration." I sat up. The door opened and a woman walked in. "Hello, Chen-an. I'm Lu Jing. I'm here to go over the competition rules with you." I nodded. "The competition has 3 tracks, all running simultaneously. However, when it airs, they'll be broadcast one at a time. Which track would you like to choose?" I hesitated. Luo Shiyu had told me to choose one of a kind, since it was the most favorable track for original artists. But if I wanted to be eliminated in the first round, I needed to put myself at a disadvantage. "I'll choose the Supreme Beauty track," I said, lifting my head. Lu Jing was taken aback. She had assumed I'd pick one of a kind. But since it was my choice, she simply nodded, recorded the information, and left. After dinner, most contestants rushed off to the practice rooms. I stayed in bed. My phone rang, I answered, and a bright female voice came through. "Chen-an, I have a surprise for you. Want to hear it?" "What surprise?" I asked, puzzled. On the other end, Luo Shiyu's voice brightened. "Penguin Music has noticed your song. They're offering 5 million to buy the rights." "How many millions?" I was instantly wide-eyed, immediately suspecting that Luo Shiyu, that naive girl, had been scammed. "Shiyu, when you're out in the world, you can't just trust anyone, especially people who tempt you with money. Don't fall for it," I said in a lecturing tone. There was a pause, then a helpless laugh. "Relax. It really is Penguin Music. I'm not lying to you." She wasn't lying, just about the amount. The real opening offer had only been 800,000. The reason she inflated it to 5 million had to do with her own identity. She was the daughter of the chairman of Platinum Entertainment, the country's top entertainment company. I refused to believe the 5 million figure. If that's real, I'll eat my own head. Eventually, Luo Shiyu gave up. "Fine, I'll stop teasing. Penguin Music really did approach you. The actual offer is 800,000. That's the truth. Only then did I half believe it. I'm not joking, she said, sounding exasperated. That's wonderful. I finally accepted it after her repeated confirmation. After hanging up, I lay on my bed grinning. 800,000. I could finally treat Luo Shiyu to a proper meal. With that happy dream in mind, I quickly drifted off to sleep. The next morning, all the contestants gathered in the waiting area. I sat down casually in a corner. Seeing this blind contestant who clearly didn't fit in, everyone tactfully left me alone. And I, equally tactfully, made no move to interact. I only remembered that Lu Jing had said the Supreme Beauty track was on the far left, so when my name was called, I just needed to head left. In the control room, Director Chen Shu was nervously overseeing everything. What number is Chen An? Lu Jing checked the draw order. That poor guy, he's last. Chen Shu smiled and shook his head, saying nothing. All right, let's begin. With the production team's signal, the cameras rolled and the competition officially started. All 3 tracks opened simultaneously. Supreme Beauty track mentor, Yang Dami. One-of-a-kind track mentor, Shui Qian. Supreme Magic Voice track mentor, Hua Chengyu. Contestants were called in by number and entered 1 track at a time. Contestant number 1, Du Lei, one-of-a-kind track. A small red light above the speaker in the room was unnoticed by everyone. It was the production team's hidden camera watching everything. Time passed. Most contestants had already gone through. I sat waiting, minding my own business, quietly amused, when another contestant was eliminated from One-of-a-Kind. His name was Kai Shu, a trainee from North Sea Entertainment, with 2.5 years of practice. He had come with his older brother Kai Kun, who was still in the waiting area. When Kai Kun saw his brother eliminated, his expression darkened instantly. Already in a foul mood, he then caught a glimpse in his peripheral vision of the blind contestant in the corner, still smiling. Is something funny? Kai Kun walked over in 2 or 3 strides, his voice low and clearly suppressing anger. Absorbed in my own thoughts, I noticed someone standing in front of me and asked, puzzled, "Are you talking to me?" Being blind doesn't mean you're deaf. Kai Kun sneered. I frowned. Who is this guy? I haven't said a single word, haven't bothered anyone. Is he just picking on me because I'm blind? Fine. Don't blame me for hitting back. Are you a trainee? That's right. I'm a trainee from North Sea Entertainment. My name is Kai Kun. He crossed his arms and smiled coldly. Trainee for 2.5 years. Knows how to play basketball, knows how to cook. For some reason, I said it without thinking. Kai Kun's eyes instantly blazed with fury, as if he'd been mocked. How does this guy know I've been training for 2.5 years? He was about to respond when the speaker called his name. You just wait, I'll deal with you when I'm done. He threw out that threat, then turned and strode toward the one-of-a-kind track, smirking. On the screen in the waiting room, Kai Kun quickly appeared on the one-of-a-kind stage. His voice came through the speakers, singing, dancing, rapping, playing basketball. Well, you certainly have a lot of interests, Shu Qian said with a laugh. Please begin your performance. Kai Kun took a deep breath and snapped his fingers at the band. A noisy, chaotic piece of music began playing. His body started moving with the beat. A moment later, a sudden sound made Shui Qian and the music producer beside her jump in shock. What is he singing? The producer leaned over and whispered, I think it's Mechanical Beauty? Shui Qian frowned, clearly at a loss for words. Everyone on the production team was struggling to hold back laughter until basketballs started flying in from the side, and Kai Kun proceeded to do a whole routine with them. At that point, no one could hold it anymore. On stage, Shui Qian held the microphone with one hand and covered her mouth with the other, desperately trying not to burst out laughing. Ye Yi was pinching her own thigh hard, running through the saddest moments of her entire life, just to keep a straight face. Kai Kun, oblivious to all of this, kept singing away cheerfully. When the song ended, dripping with sweat, he gave a deep bow to Shui Qian with a completely serious expression. The words fell. Kai Kun froze, then lit up with excitement. Sky Kun has passed. One by one, the remaining contestants were called up, each heading out like soldiers marching to battle. The waiting room gradually emptied and quieted. Last contestant, Chen An, Supreme Beauty Track. Finally, I let out a breath, stood up, grabbed my guitar and started walking to the left, my white cane tapping the floor. I felt a table leg, and my thumb made direct contact with it. I winced silently. Fortunately, the thick-soled shoes I was wearing absorbed some of the impact. Should I just stay here? I hesitated, then gritted my teeth and felt my way forward. Meanwhile, in the Supreme Beauty Track studio, Yang Dami turned to her partner and said, "Aren't we still missing one contestant?" Zhang Xiaoda nodded. "Right? I heard from the director. It's actually a blind contestant." Yang Dami paused. "How many spots do we have left?" Zhang Xiaoda glanced at the list and smiled to herself. "We're already full. This blind kid has no shot." In the neighboring, one-of-a-kind studio, Xue Qianqian sighed. "We only have 14 spots right now, don't we?" Ye Yi looked at the list and nodded. Xue Qianqian was a bit frustrated. Even after lowering her standards, she was still one short. Just then, the sound of a walking cane tapping against the floor echoed in, followed by footsteps, then a puzzled voice. "Have I arrived? Isn't it already over?" Xue Qianqian looked at Ye Yi in confusion. Ye Yi was equally baffled, checking the contestant list. That's right, the one before him was the last. In the control room, Director Chen Shu saw me appear on the one-of-a-kind stage and turned to Lu Jing. "Didn't he choose the Supreme Beauty Track?" "He did," Lu Jing said, frowning at the screen. "Did he go the wrong way? What do we do now? Bring him over." Chen Shu hesitated. "Does Mentor Yang Dami have any spots left?" "No. The only remaining spot is with Mentor Xue Qianqian." Chen Shu looked back at the screen. "Then leave it. Wrong turn or not, let him stay. Go notify both mentors." Lu Jing nodded, picked up her communicator, and sent the message. On the one-of-a-kind stage, Xue Qianqian and Ye Yi both looked at me in bewilderment. After a moment, Xue Qianqian asked cautiously, "Are you here to compete?" Internally, I rolled my eyes. How unprofessional. They don't even know which contestants are theirs. I needed to get this over with quickly, get eliminated, and go back to record the song. I nodded. "Yes, Mentor." "And what is your name?" "Hello, Mentor. My name is Chen An. I'm a student at Imperial Capital University." "A student." Xue Qianqian nodded and had a crew member bring me a stool. Once I sat down, she asked curiously, "Chen An, what is the name of the original song you're performing today?" "Someone Like Me." Hearing the title, Xue Qianqian's expression immediately turned serious. "Someone Like You, please begin your performance." I nodded, lifted the guitar from my back, and began to play. At the sound of the opening notes, Xue Qianqian sat up straight. The room fell silent. After a brief guitar intro, I leaned toward the microphone, my voice rough and low. "Someone as outstanding as me, who waited their whole life to shine. How is it that after 20-some years, I'm still adrift in the crowd?" At those 4 lines, Xue Qianqian's heart gave a small jolt. Her expression grew even more focused as she listened. Someone as clever as me, who long since left behind naivety. How did I still trade a stretch of feeling for a chest full of scars? Someone as lost as me, someone as searching as me, someone as utterly ordinary as me. How many people like that have you seen? By the time the first verse ended, everyone in the production room had tears in their eyes. Someone as mundane as me who never liked performing depth. How is it that sometimes an old song catches me off guard and I lose myself? Someone as timid as me who always held back just a little. How did I once come so close to throwing it all away for someone? The guitar swelled, and the song approached its end. Someone as lonely as me. Someone as foolish as me. Someone as afraid of being ordinary as me. How many people like that are there in this world? In the semi-final hall, the sign read, "One of a kind." Ye Yi leaned over to Xue Qianqian's ear. "This kid is from the beauty track. He went to the wrong stage." Yang Dami has no spots left. The director talked it over with that side, and they're fine with it. Shui Qianqian was overjoyed. She stood up and walked over to me. Congratulations, Chenan. You've officially joined One of a Kind. One of a Kind? I blinked in confusion. Huh. You went to the wrong stage. Shui Qianqian laughed. Oh well, I said, rubbing my nose. As long as I made it through. After returning to my room, I sat cross-legged on the bed. With this round done, I could go back temporarily and wait for the next notice from the production team. I took out the blue pill the system had given me. Could this thing actually restore my sight? Heart racing, I placed it on my tongue. As it dissolved, I felt an extraordinary warmth spread through my body. Minutes passed. When the sensation faded, I slowly opened my eyes and smiled ruefully. Still nothing. But while my vision hadn't returned, my body felt sharper, more agile, filled with a sense of strength. An unexpected gain, at least. One morning, Luo Shiyu's phone call woke me up. I knew it, Chenan. This was nothing for you. Small stuff. I yawned and sat up. I'll come pick you up now. An hour later, in the car, I spoke first. When can we go record the song? If you're free now, we could go right away. Then let's go. I'm free now. Seeing my eagerness, Luo Shiyu smiled and drove at full speed. We arrived quickly. Luo Shiyu took my arm and led me inside. Drawing on my singing ability, the recording was finished in no time. Afterward, she led me out. Chen-an, I have a spare apartment outside of campus. You can move in, Luo Shiyu said as she drove. I nodded, understanding what she meant. She was worried that once I became more well-known, I'd run into trouble on campus. All right, but I'll count it as rent. No need. We'll both be living there. Luo Shiyu said, a hint of shyness in her eyes. Wait, we're living together. I blurted out. I'll be looking after you. Someone has to, right? I didn't really have any objection. It just felt a bit strange, moving in together so quickly. We soon arrived at a high-end residential complex. Wanliu Academy, one of the most prestigious addresses in the imperial capital. Only the wealthy and elite lived here. We took the elevator from the underground garage up to the 5th floor. Luo Shiyu led me to one of the bedrooms. This is where you'll live from now on. I'm right across the hall. Call if you need anything. I nodded. Step outside for a minute. What for? I need to shower. Are you watching? The words left my mouth, and Luo Shiyu's face turned red. She shut the door immediately. During the days I stayed there, Penguin Music transferred the payment promptly. The recorded song was released online on schedule, attracting a flood of listeners the very day it dropped. I had a small surge of fame again. As my name spread across campus, the blind guy, the laughing boyfriend, the pretty boy, a wave of labels hit like a storm. People even noticed that I had appeared in the preview for Rising Star. The news spread like wildfire. Students were stunned, especially those who had never liked me. They flooded the campus forum with mockery. A blind person competing in a talent show? He has no idea what he's worth. Exactly. He writes one song and thinks he can debut? The campus drama quickly spilled onto the internet. Some people, once they decide someone is beneath them, overflow with pity. But the moment they realize that same person outshines them in some way, jealousy erupts like a geyser. That was exactly what was happening. A blind contestant had written a hit song and gone viral, and now some people couldn't contain their envy. They flooded the official Rising Star social media accounts with criticism. Public opinion was in an uproar. Luo Shiyu, seeing this, was furious. Alone in her room, she switched between her phone, tablet, and computer, firing back at the trolls one by one. Meanwhile, in a 5-star hotel, Kai-kun scrolled through the online commentary about me and grinned ear to ear. You picked the wrong person to offend. I told you I'd make you pay. He could already picture the scene when the episode aired, the backlash crushing this guy, the production team bowing to pressure and forcing him out. He had no idea, of course, that I was completely oblivious to any of this. My daily task was simply to familiarize myself with the layout of the apartment by touch. The embarrassing part was that I kept accidentally wandering into Luo Shiyu's room, mistaking it for the bathroom. I nearly undressed on the spot more than once, which terrified her into thinking I had some peculiar habit. At that moment, Luo Shiyu was on the phone in her room. "Miss, we've traced the people who bought the smear campaign against Chen An," came a deferential voice. "Who is it?" Her voice carried an edge of anger. "A trainee under North Sea Entertainment named Kai Kun. He also took part in the Rising Star auditions." Her eyes hardened. "Then we buy campaign 2. Platinum Entertainment has never been afraid of anyone in that department. As the undisputed leader of the domestic entertainment industry, burying someone online was a mere flick of the fingers." "Understood, miss." A brief pause. "Miss, your father seems to have found out about something. He started paying attention to Chen An as well." Luo Shiyu's expression flickered. "But your father hasn't said anything yet, miss." "Understood." She exhaled with relief and hung up. Her father probably didn't know yet that Chen An was living with her. With that old man's temper, he'd have stormed over here already. The next day, Rising Star aired on schedule. The moment the episode went live, viewers flooded in, along with many trolls waiting to pounce. In his hotel room, Kai Kun watched the bullet comments stream by, his grin stretching to the ceiling. Back at Wanliu Academy, I sat on the sofa with Luo Shiyu. Since I couldn't see, I could only listen. Luo Shiyu sat pouting, glaring at the screen with barely concealed fury at every snide comment. The show began. The magic voice track aired first, filled mostly with trainees whose connections outweighed their talent. The beauty track followed. The moment Yang Dami appeared, her fans swarmed in. On her track, she clearly favored contestants with strong visuals and polished vocal dance performances. So many trainees passed through there as well. Then came the final track, the original music segment. After the build-up from the previous 2, the buzz around this track surged. Contestant after contestant took the stage until it was finally my turn. Viewers glued to their screens leaned in as I appeared. The opening notes began, word by word, lyric by lyric, and hearts cracked open. Someone who can write a song like this, how could he be anything like what they said online? Being blind is already a disadvantage. Not being able to see doesn't mean he doesn't know. I'm here to apologize to Chen An for the things I said, mocking a blind person. What is wrong with me? 1 second earlier, viewers were ready to pile on and watch the drama unfold. The very next second, the tide completely reversed. The bullet comments were flooded with, "I'm sorry." In the hotel, Kai Kun's face went pale. He stared at the wall-to-wall apologies on screen, jaw tight, eyes burning. "Don't think this is over. You're not getting away." He slammed his fist on the desk. Then his phone rang without warning. He saw the name on the screen and broke into a smile, reaching over to answer. "Hey, Sister Zhang." "Sister Zhang, nothing." A furious female voice exploded through the phone. "Sister Zhang, why are you so upset?" he asked carefully. "You have the nerve to ask me. Go check the trending topics yourself." Kai Kun instinctively opened the trending list. His pupils contracted sharply. At the top of the charts, every shady thing he had done behind the scenes, pinned and drawing massive attention. In an instant, the reputation he had so carefully built crumbled. "How did this get out?" "Sister Zhang, take those topics down, please." A cold snort from the other end. "Can't you tell someone is coming after you? The second those topics appeared, I tried everything. They can't be removed." Kai Kun slumped in his chair, eyes vacant. Back at the apartment, Luo Shiyu smiled with satisfaction, looking at the trending anti-Kai Kun articles. Who else would have done this? You dared mess with Chen An, now see what I can do. And while the internet erupted with drama over Tekai Kun, on the talent competition stage, I had just swept the MVP title for my entire segment. Someone like me hadn't just cleared my name, it had turned every last troll into a fan. From the sofa, I called over to Luo Shiyu. "How did it go?" She smiled. "The response was great. You'll need to keep it up for the next round." I nodded. "You're back at the Rising Star shoot tomorrow," Luo Shiyu said, sounding a little worried. "How's the new song coming?" "Don't worry, it's ready. It won't be any worse than the last one." I smiled easily. The next day, Luo Shiyu dropped me off at the production compound again. "Chen An, let me help you," said Lu Jing, walking over and taking my arm. Unlike last time, her voice now had a soft, lilting quality, and she made a point of pressing my arm against her side. I quietly pulled my arm free. Even without eyes, I could read this situation perfectly. This woman was definitely trying to take liberties. Lu Jing guided me to the waiting room and sat me down. "Chen En, have you prepared a song for this round?" she asked sweetly. I nodded and named the song. She pursed her lips, looking slightly put out, and then stepped out. Meanwhile, at the top floor of Platinum Entertainment, a man in his mid-40s sat at ease, sipping tea. The door opened a crack, and a slight figure slipped through. "Daddy, you called for me." The soft voice was like honey. Luo Yangming's heart nearly melted, but not today. This time he could not let his daughter's gentle exterior fool him again. If he did, his little princess would belong to someone else. He forced a stern expression. "I hear you've been getting very close to a blind boy recently." "He's not just a blind boy. He has a name. It's Chen An," Luo Shiyu muttered quietly. "I also hear that you helped him enter a competition and used my name to negotiate a song price." Luo Shiyu pressed her lips together. Luo Yangming sighed. "My dear, I'm not forbidding you from dating, but if you're going to, at least pick someone ordinary. I've looked into this Chen An, both parents gone, a complete orphan, and nearly zero chance of ever recovering his sight. What do you see in him?" "I see how good he is. I see how talented he is." She thought it, but she would never say it out loud. Luo Yangming let out another heavy sigh. "Though, to be fair, his talent isn't bad. He reminds me a little of Zhonghua." At the mention of Zhonghua, Luo Shiyu's expression darkened. "He's a traitor. After everything we did to build him into an international star, he turned around and ran off to a foreign company." Luo Yangming gave a wry smile. "Everyone has their own ambitions. Zhonghua wanted to go further in music. That kind of opportunity only existed overseas. Before Luo Shiyu could argue further, he changed the subject. I've already spoken to the Rising Star director. If I'm not mistaken, Tai-kun will challenge Chen An in this next round. If that boy really has what it takes, let's see it." Inside the Rising Star production compound, the second round had already begun. As the host's voiceover played, the competition resumed where it left off. After the completion, the contestants' names appeared on the large screen. Next came the reshuffling and redistribution, followed by a random draw to determine each person's opponent. As the scroll began, everyone's eyes were fixed on their own names on the screen. When it stopped, they all held their breath in unison. Since I couldn't see, I had to ask the person beside me, "Excuse me, who is my opponent?" At that moment, Kei-kun was trembling with excitement. He turned to look at me, his face full of smiles. "Your opponent is me." Hearing that voice, I furrowed my brow slightly. Kai-kun, 2.5 years of training. You little Kai-kun, teeth clenched, his eyes nearly shooting fire. "Just you wait. This time I'll definitely eliminate you." The competition began. The first pair to take the stage was the Magic Eagle track versus the Beauty Filter track. Both performers put on excellent shows. Hua Chengyu said nothing and simply cast his vote for his own contestant. Yang Dami did the same. Shui Qianqian lowered her head, paused for a moment in silence, then looked at the two competitors and said, "My choice is the Beauty Filter track." At those words, Yang Dami broke into a happy smile, while Hua Chengyu's expression darkened immediately. "Fine, Qian. So you're targeting me? Don't think you'll have it easy either." The next match was Beauty Filter versus Original. After the two finished, the audience could clearly tell that the original track had the edge. Yet Hua Chengyu cast his vote for the Beauty Filter track regardless, leaving Qianqian both confused and a little annoyed. As the competition continued, contestants from all three tracks put on strong performances. Before long, to the anticipation of everyone present, the host finally called out my name along with Kai-kun's. Kai-kun took the stage first. He rose confidently, walked up to the platform, and bowed toward the panel. "Hello, teachers." He held the microphone as he greeted them. Shui Xianxian smiled at him and spoke into her mic. Kai-kun, is the song you're about to perform your own original work? It's my original work. Hey, what are you doing? Kai-kun straightened up and announced loudly. Shui Xianxian blinked in surprise, then pressed her fingers to her temple. All right, please begin your performance. The moment the background music kicked in, hey, what are you doing? The opening lyric rang out, and both the audience and Shui Qianqian froze on the spot. Even Yang Dami was holding her forehead, doing her best not to burst out laughing. Hua Chengyu, on the other hand, was swaying gently to the beat with an expression of pure enjoyment. This song was completely to his taste. Backstage, I sat in the waiting area repeatedly digging at my ears. This song, which had given Shitong excellent hearing, was practically deafening me now. I barely endured Kai-kun's performance to the end, my head spinning. The others were even worse off. Many had completely dissolved into laughter on the spot. Kai-kun, however, seemed entirely unaware of this. Shui Qianqian hesitated, then spoke up. It's genuinely not bad. The rhythm and the lyrics are quite on point. If a few details were polished further, it would be even better. All right, please welcome our next contestant, Chen An. The host announced, microphone in hand, as Chei-kun was escorted off stage. At the sound of my name, every gaze in the room snapped toward me. The host jogged over and led me up to the stage. Shui Qianqian looked at me from the panel and said, Chen An, what song have you prepared for this round? Dispelling Sorrow. Very well, please begin your performance. On the stage, I hugged my guitar, exhaled slowly, and closed my eyes. A desolate and solitary prelude rose up, and the sound rolled out like waves, reaching into every corner of the room. When you walk into this place of joy, carrying all your dreams and hopes, faces of every color, every shade of makeup, no one will remember what you look like. The moment Shui Qianqian heard the opening lines, she went still. She had spent years studying lyrics, and yet these two lines reached straight into her heart. One cup to the morning sun, one cup to the moonlight, awakening my longing, warming the cold window, and so I can walk forward without looking back, not afraid of rain in my heart, nor frost in my eyes. As those lyrics rang out, the audience's eyes went wide, every gaze fixed unblinking on me. One cup to my hometown, one cup to the distant horizon, keeping alive my kindness, watching it grow with me. So the long road between north and south will no longer feel endless, and the soul will finally have somewhere to rest. The sound of cattle and the images woven into the lyrics drifted gently toward us. I held the microphone and, in my hoarse voice, sang the final verse. One cup to tomorrow, one cup to the past. Only my body remains, heavy with the weight on my shoulders. Though I have never believed in what they call the long road of life, life is short, why dwell on what you can't forget? One cup to freedom, one cup to death. Forgive my ordinariness, scatter my confusion. Well, after dawn, the stage must always be swept clean. The most clear-headed people are the most absurd of all. The final lyric fell away, and the whole room erupted in thunderous applause. Even Shui Qianqian was clapping, visibly moved. Yang Dami was even more overcome, her tears falling freely, without restraint. Kai-kun, his face dark, walked back up and stood beside me on stage. The host stepped forward, microphone raised. All right, teachers, please cast your votes for these two contestants. Yang Dami went first. Looking at my unfocused eyes, he felt a surge of deep sympathy. 2 songs were enough to tell him what this person had been through. Without a moment's hesitation, he cast his vote for me. When it came to Shui Qianqian, she looked directly at me, barely giving Kai-kun a glance. Chen An, you are the most talented young person I have ever encountered. I cast this vote wholeheartedly. But just as she finished speaking, a teasing laugh rang out. Qianqian, I have to say I disagree with that. All eyes turned to Hua Chengyu. He let his gaze move between the two of us before finally settling on Sai-kun. I choose Kai-kun. As for Chen An, his songs have never once met my standard. I have never had any expectations for him, not once. At that, the entire audience gasped. Shui Qian and Yang Dami stared at him in disbelief. Hua Chengyu kept his eyes on me and continued talking, seemingly to no one in particular. Among all the contestants, you are the one I have the least faith in. Either of the two songs you performed today, in my view, is nothing but filler. At those words, the crowd was even more stunned. I stood expressionless on the stage, my blank eyes turned toward where Hua Chengyu was seated. I raised the microphone slowly, let out a cold laugh, and said clearly, "What the hell do you know?" The words boomed through the entire venue. Every head turned toward me. Hua Chengyu stared back, completely incredulous. Backstage, a producer winced and turned to director Chen Shu. "Should we step in?" "No need," Chen Shu replied, eyes narrowing. In the past, he might have held back out of respect for the companies behind them. But now, with White Gold Entertainment backing things up, why should he flinch? "What? You think I'm wrong?" Hua Chengyu looked at me, his cold smile unwavering. "Your logic is total garbage." I let go of all restraint and opened fire. "You know nothing about music or composition." "You're saying I know nothing?" Hua Chengyu's eyes went wide. "A great song is defined by its melody. A great melody needs explosive rhythm and commanding high notes, and neither of your two songs came close." "Who says a song has to have high notes? Does it only count as music if it's like you, putting on a show on stage?" I gave a cold laugh. "What did you say?" That line hit like a thunderclap. Hua Chengyu couldn't stay in his seat any longer. "Only people with real taste can appreciate my music," he said, seething, barely containing his fury. Then he threw down the microphone and stormed off the stage. "Garbage," I said with another cold laugh, just as Hua Chengyu reached the exit. His departure left the entire audience in stunned silence. Sensing that no one was speaking, I had a good guess at what had happened. I set down my microphone, picked up my cane, and walked off the stage as well. Not one more second on this ridiculous show. Whatever judges they'd invited, most of them were worthless. The only decent one was my own mentor. As the two of us left, the people remaining on stage had no idea what to do next. "The winner of this round is Chen An," the host announced loudly, having just received a message from the director. Kai-kun sat in the audience, expression dark. He couldn't understand how he had ended up eliminated here. But there was no choice now. He had to accept it, and somewhere in the back of his mind, something was beginning to click into place. Why would a blind person be invited onto a show? Why had the production team allowed the other contestant to speak that way, and even cause this kind of scene without stepping in? The answer was simple. There was serious money behind him. Capital powerful enough to be almost unimaginable. With that realization, Kai-kun felt a shiver run through his entire body. Good Lord, he had misjudged this completely. This was no ordinary blind kid. This was a blind VIP. Meanwhile, I was standing on the roadside, somewhat helplessly scratching my head. I couldn't see, which meant I couldn't even hail a cab. I'd better call Luo Shiyu to come pick me up. I pulled out my phone and was just about to dial when a voice came from nearby, clearly that of a driver. "Hey, young man, need a ride?" I didn't refuse. I reached out, opened the car door, and climbed in. After giving the driver my destination, the car slowly pulled into traffic. The female driver glanced in the rearview mirror. "Young man, are you a celebrity? You're very good looking." I touched my own face at that. "I have a daughter about your age," she continued. "Interested in meeting her?" "No, thank you," I replied with a nod. The driver's lips curved into a small smile. "She's really quite lovely, you know, and she doesn't have a boyfriend." At that, I couldn't help but laugh. "Miss Driver, you're teasing me. Based on your voice, you can't be more than your mid-20s. There's no way you have a daughter." Hearing that, Chen Meiling's mood lifted considerably. Soon the car pulled up to the entrance of the apartment complex. I called Luo Shiyu, then turned toward Chen Meiling. "We're here, Miss Driver." I was about to get out when she stopped me. "Wait until whoever's coming gets down here before you go. It's hard to get around. Don't rush." She said it lightly, with a smile. Before long, Luo Shiyu came running down the stairs and headed toward the spot I had described. But before she even reached it, she spotted a familiar white car in the distance. Wasn't that her mother's car? She pressed her lips together and walked slowly over to it. Just as she was about to lean in and say hello, she saw me step out of the car alongside her mother. Before Luo Shiyu had even processed what was happening, Chen Meiling glanced at her with a grin. Well, no wonder he wasn't interested in my daughter. Turns out he already has such a pretty girlfriend. I walked over to Luo Shiyu's side, cane in hand, and said with a smile, "You're joking again, big sis. You can't be more than mid-20s. How could you possibly have a daughter?" Beside me, Luo Shiyu blinked in astonishment. Had he just called her mother big sis? Since when had he gotten so good at flattery? Her mother absolutely despised being called auntie or anything like it, so everyone who knew her, at home or outside, called her Sister Lin, no exceptions. "I'll take you home," Luo Shiyu said. Under her mother's burning gaze, she lowered her head and gently tugged my arm, guiding us back inside. Once they were home, Luo Shiyu found an excuse to shoo me off, then turned to her mother, curling up like a kitten. "Mom." Chen Meiling looked at her daughter's pleading expression and let out a quiet laugh. "What? You hide him away, I find out. And now you come crawling to me?" "It's not like that," Luo Shiyu said, her face instantly flushing. "Relax. I didn't come here to interrogate anyone. I just wanted to see what my future son-in-law is like. He seems like a fine young man." At that, Luo Shiyu exhaled with relief. Chen Meiling looked at her, smiling, and patted her gently on the head. "You're not getting any younger. There's no need to sneak around about a relationship. I'll handle things on your father's end. And as for Chenan, if he wants to make it in the entertainment industry, once the competition is over, try to get him signed with White Gold Entertainment. Keep the good ones close." With that, Chen Meiling got back in the car, pressed the gas, and drove away. Luo Shiyu returned home, dropped onto the sofa beside me, and nudged her head toward my shoulder playfully. "How did you manage to come back without a word this time?" Hearing that, I furrowed my brow and sighed, then recounted everything that had happened at the venue. After listening, Luo Shiyu said indignantly that Hua Chengyu is completely out of line. What does he even know? Meanwhile, in a hotel room across town, Hua Chengyu was in a rage. Nearly everything in the room had been smashed. He was a major celebrity. When had he ever been treated like this? He picked up his phone to call his company and pull some strings, but just as he was about to dial, his company called him first. "Keep doing your job as a judge on Tomorrow's Star," the voice on the other end said, low and deliberate. "And stop going after Chen An." Hua Chengyu stood frozen in place. Just as he was about to ask why, the voice on the other end said two more sentences, and a chill ran through his entire body. White Gold Entertainment. The person behind Chen An was White Gold Entertainment. Hua Chengyu slowly sank to the floor. Coming from his own company, the information was almost certainly accurate, but he still couldn't let it go. So what if the kid had white gold behind him? He was still just a newcomer. He refused to believe that White Gold Entertainment would go to war with him over some new talent. Having talked himself into that conclusion, Hua Chengyu began working behind the scenes. Before long, a new trending topic appeared online out of nowhere. Netizens clicked on it one after another. Contestant unhappy with judge's critique. Publicly insults judge on national television. Below the headline were a few lines of text and a carefully selected screenshot, once again dragging me into the center of the storm. The wave of abuse directed at me surged to a new peak. Hua Chengyu watched the online frenzy about me with satisfaction. But just then, Shui Qianqian posted something on Weibo, a single sentence. "Who did what? When the show airs, everyone will see." Reading it, Hua Chengyu nearly ground his teeth to dust. He had never imagined that Shui Qianqian would post something like this at a moment like this. She hadn't said anything directly, but the implication was crystal clear. Was the production team actually going to release the full unedited footage? At this point, I was completely unaware of any of it online. I had assumed the show's team would never invite me back, yet that morning they called to confirm my spot in the upcoming semifinal. When I heard the news, I paused for a moment, then smiled to myself. Since it was the semifinal, I'd better prepare properly. No guitar this time, I'd sing the actor. That song would be more than enough for the semifinal. Back at the production office, a nervous crew member looked at director Chen Shu. "Are we really going to release the actual footage, director?" Chen Shu hesitated for a moment, then said, "Release it. If anything happens, it's on me." At those words, the crew exchanged glances, and in the end could only sigh internally. Chen Shu sensed the tension in the room. He knew what they were all worried about. Hua Chengyu's backers were powerful, yes, but with White Gold Entertainment in their corner, what exactly was there to be afraid of? Once the decision was made, the team picked up pace. At last, after much anticipation from viewers online, the second episode premiered. The broadcast began with the host running through the competition format. Once the matchups were revealed, audience interest surged. The first pair performed brilliantly from start to finish, sparking intense discussion online. Then came my match with Ki-kun. Ki-kun went up first, and after his rendition of, "Hey, what are you doing?" viewers online completely lost it with laughter. Then it was my turn. As I stepped on stage, online discussion hit a new peak. My voice filled the venue, conquering everyone in the room, moving Yang Dami to tears, while Hua Chengyu alone still shook his head in dismissal. On stage, Kai-kun and I stood together awaiting the final result. Unsurprisingly, I received 2 votes. When it came time for Hua Chengyu's commentary, he looked at me and said coldly, "I choose Tsai-kun. Chen An's song didn't come close to passing my standard. Everyone here may have had expectations for you, but I never have. Not once." At those words, the entire internet went silent. Back in his hotel room, Hua Chengyu stared at his phone in disbelief. The production team had actually released it online. Viewers who had just watched Hua Chengyu's comment erupted in outrage. In the show, the version of me hearing those words stood up and confronted him directly in front of everyone, until finally Hua Chengyu threw down his microphone and walked off in a fury. That moment sent blood pressures spiking across the entire country. Meanwhile, in the president's office at White Gold Entertainment, Luo Yangming was watching the broadcast of Tomorrow's Star. Beside him sat Chen Meiling, doing the same. "The kid really does have talent," Luo Yangming said quietly, "and his personality suits me." "Does that mean you've approved of this son-in-law?" Chen Meiling said, turning to look at him with a grin. The moment the words son-in-law landed, Luo Yangming swallowed back whatever he had been about to say. Back in the outside world, the episode's airing had made me famous all over again. Alongside the semi-finals promotional rollout, Tomorrow's Star also launched a viewer vote to bring back eliminated contestants. The top 6 in popularity would re-enter and compete in the semi-final. When the voting closed, the list of 6 names was released. Kai-kun was among them. Naturally, without him, the show would lose quite a lot of its entertainment value. Hua Chengyu, however, was still not ready to give up. He was quietly laying the groundwork for the semi-final, scheming to finally destroy me once and for all. As viewers counted down to the semi-final of Tomorrow's Star, I received my invitation and arrived at the venue again. From a distance, Hua Chengyu spotted me and smiled with barely concealed malice. The real show was about to begin. But right then, during the semi-final build-up, a news item appeared online and quickly went viral. Rising star Chen An, mocking those who perished in the 9/26 disaster. Below the headline were some blurry, seemingly authentic chat records. 9/26 was a chapter of history no one wanted to remember. On September 26th, 20 years ago, a catastrophic rainstorm had struck a small town. In just 3 days, torrential rainfall caused buildings to collapse throughout the area, killing and injuring countless people. When the news first broke, the entire nation was grief-stricken. Every year since, on this anniversary, the whole country observed a day of mourning to honor those lost. Today was no exception. And yet, at this moment, an utterly tone-deaf piece of mockery had appeared online. And once again, I was thrust into the center of a national firestorm. This time was different from before. This time, the eyes of the entire country were watching. At the same time, 3 days before the competition, a neurosurgeon emerged from a hospital in a faraway city, exhausted, and made his way to a familiar roadside stall. He ordered food and sat down to scroll through his phone. That was when a headline about 9/26 caught his eye. At the sight of that date, Li Wensheng's mood dimmed. So many lives had been taken in that disaster. He exhaled quietly and read on. When he saw a celebrity supposedly mocking the dead of 9/26, he let out a short, bitter laugh. People will say anything for traffic these days. He tapped on the trending post, ready to teach this so-called star a lesson, and then a name stopped him cold. Chen An. Li Wensheng murmured the name to himself, then frowned. Why did that name sound familiar? He hesitated, then searched it anyway. My information appeared on the screen. When he saw that I was blind, Li Wensheng's expression changed, as if a long-buried memory had just surfaced. If it's really him, there must be a scar on the back of his skull. Li Wensheng shot to his feet, phone in hand, and sprinted back toward the hospital. He didn't even stop for the food that had just been set in front of him. When the night nurses saw him burst back through the doors, they were startled. "Dr. Li, what's wrong?" "The case files from the 9/26 disaster rescue operation." "Where are they?" Li Wensheng asked urgently. "They should be in the computer system. Dr. Li, who are you looking for?" Li Wensheng didn't answer. To confirm what his gut was telling him, he typed my name directly into the system. Of the children named Chen An, who had been treated during the rescue 20 years ago, 5 had been found in total. Only 1 had lost their eyesight. It was him. Li Wensheng stared at the screen. A photo, a newborn infant, just barely 1 month old. His name was Chen An. He was the central figure in the most celebrated of the 10 most moving stories from the 9/26 disaster. When the rescue team had been notified and rushed to the scene, the water had already broken through the dam. A surging torrent had swallowed an entire village downstream. By the time they arrived, it was too late for most. But there was one sight that made every single person present go red-eyed with grief. In the raging floodwater, a pair of arms were raised as high as they could reach, hands gripping a crying infant, holding it out of the water. The moment was captured in a photograph. When that photo spread across the country, it brought the whole nation to tears. After the team pulled the child to safety, they discovered that he had suffered a violent blow to the head. He survived, but the impact had damaged his optic nerves, and he was left blind. Li Wensheng looked from his phone to the image on the computer. Side by side, there was a definite resemblance. If it truly was him, then that trending post was impossible. A child who had walked out of the 9/26 disaster, there was no way he would mock the people who had died in it. Without another moment's delay, Li Wensheng attached images from the original 9/26 coverage along with a lengthy statement and posted everything online. The post spread across the internet at lightning speed. When people first saw the revelation about my identity, their instinct was disbelief. But when they realized the person posting was a neurosurgeon who had been part of the actual 9/26 rescue team, the internet erupted. Inside White Gold Entertainment's executive office, Luo Yangming stared at the online reports about me. "I didn't know this kid had been through all that," he said quietly. "To have come this far from that beginning, that's no small thing." He paused, then made up his mind. If that's the case, why not give the kid a hand? He picked up his phone and sent a message. "Take Hua Chengyu down." The moment the smear campaign had started, he'd already traced it back to Hua Chengyu. He had originally intended to let me face it as a test, but he was past that now. Hua Chengyu had dared to come after the heir apparent of White Gold Entertainment. This man had truly reached the end of his road. Time rewound to the semi-final venue. In the audience, a pair of bright eyes fell gently on me. Rather than watch on a screen, she had come in person to cheer me on. I sat in the front row, head lowered. I knew everything that had happened over the past few days, and this time I was genuinely angry. Well, it was the semi-final. Might as well make some real noise. Backstage, director Chen Su watched everything unfolding on the monitors. "Did you speak to Hua Chengyu?" he asked someone beside him. "We did, director." Chen Shu gave a small nod and turned his eyes back to the screen. The semi-final format was slightly different from before. A pre-performance commentary segment had been added. Contestants would take the stage first, and all 3 judges would give their assessments before the performance began. To prevent Hua Chengyu from going off the rails again when I was on stage, a warning had to be issued in advance. With great fanfare, the competition finally got underway. The host walked out with his signature smile, delivered a lengthy opening monologue, and then welcomed the first contestant. In a luxury villa in the capital, Luo Yangming sat on the sofa watching tomorrow's star. Hearing the commotion, Chen Meiling hurried over. "It started and you didn't tell me?" She gave him a playful nudge and settled in to watch. "That person," Chen Meiling said suddenly, pointing at the television as a camera swept across the audience. "She looks just like Sheer." "Stop looking. That's the girl herself," Luo Yangming said. Luo Yangming's expression became even more conflicted. Chen Meiling glanced at his long face and let out a quiet laugh. "Let it go. It sounds like they're about to call Chen on." Luo Yangming redirected his attention to the screen. In the show, when the host called my name, every head in the room turned. Shui Qianqian came down from the panel herself to guide me to the stage. Once I was standing up there, all three judges gave their commentary in turn. When it came around to Hua Chengyu, he picked up his microphone and looked up at me. "I take back what I said in the last round," he began. "It's not that I have no expectations for you. I doubt you entirely. I suspect you've been faking your condition this whole time." Murmurs swept through the crowd. "And the child from the 9 to A6 disaster, that definitely wasn't you. I don't believe that someone who lived through that nightmare, after everything they've endured, could end up here." Hua Chengyu delivered the words with complete confidence. I stood quietly on the stage and listened until Hua Chengyu finished. By then, the cold inside me had settled deep. Under the eyes of everyone present, I asked the host for a piano. Everyone in the room looked on in confusion as I sat down before it, closed my eyes slowly, and let the melody of a song take shape in my mind. I had decided I was changing songs on the spot. The actor no longer felt right. But there was another song that for this moment was exactly right. Once those opening notes rang out, every rumor and every question would be shattered completely. My hands rested gently on the piano keys. As the music began to play, and the prelude of the song rang out, director Chen Shu murmured, "Perhaps this song is your counterattack against Hua Chenyu." I closed my eyes and began to sing softly. That was an autumn day, the wind so heavy with sorrow, reminding me of those helpless eyes. There, where beautiful scenery surrounds, I heard the roar of rain and thunder echo through the valley. The moment the song's vocals rose, every viewer in front of their screens was instantly stunned. The 9/26 disaster had indeed occurred in autumn, a time when thunder had shaken the heavens and the earth. Was this song written for herself? No one understood. They continued to watch. That autumn, I could no longer see Father's face. He lifted me on his shoulders, the starting point of my rebirth. In the darkness, tears filled my eyes. "Don't leave. Don't hurt me." The emotion in the voice gradually shifted from quiet narration to a sweeping surge. The hands that never stopped playing moved like those of a dancer. My voice steadily climbed higher. I watched as Mom and Dad slowly walked away, leaving me alone in this unfamiliar world. I don't know what more I could ever offer. In a daze, it seemed as though the audience could see a vision. In the darkness of that terrible day, I was hoisted up by someone, crying helplessly. Back then I understood nothing, and yet I had lost my parents forever. The thought brought tears streaming down. My voice rose again. I want to hold tightly to her hand. Mama told me there is still hope. When the sun comes out, Mama will smile. The dawn will come. With the first chorus complete, everyone was fully drawn in, their eyes fixed on that lone figure on stage. It was a night. Stars awoke in the sky above. In my dream I saw my mother alone writing on paper, "You must learn to be strong. Don't leave. Don't hurt me." The second verse opened, and the moment it did, several of the female celebrities in the audience burst into tears. I watched as she slowly walked further away, leaving me alone in this strange world. I want to build a beautiful garden for her. I will hold tightly to her hand. Mama will tell me there is still hope. When the sun comes out, a beautiful garden. The transcendent high notes, the flawless tone. I was proving to everyone that my skill far surpassed Hua Chengnu. I will hold tightly to her hand. Mama will tell me, there is still hope. When the sun comes out, I'll smile through everything. Istim notice, tomorrow star semi-final. Check-in location confirmed. Site restoration progress, 1/10. Song completed. Consumable item obtained. Mighty Gourmet God Tier Skill Title, Divine Drop. Check-in location refreshed. Imperial Capital. Long-term side quest unlocked. Complete Luo Shiyu's wish. Quest completion reward, random. I was clearly just a blind person. And yet somehow there was someone willing to offer herself, even declaring she would marry no one but me. All because of an unreliable system. In order to restore my sight, I endured the system's increasingly absurd check-in requirements, one after another. This time, the check-in location was the Tomorrow Star semi-final. With one hand, I had moved the entire audience to tears. When the system chimed to confirm the check-in, a cool sensation seeped into both my eyes. I instinctively squinted. My heart surged with sudden excitement. I could finally see light again. I had waited far too long for this moment. Although only 1/10 of my vision had been restored, I was deeply satisfied. Even a sliver of light was infinitely better than total darkness. Then I turned my head toward Hua Chenyu. In that moment, I raised the microphone and spoke. Slander, lies, Hua Chenyu. You really are a piece of garbage. Take a good look at who you think you are. You've got a lot of nerve. The words were blunt and brutal. The internet immediately exploded. What did you just say? Hua Chenyu's face turned the color of a pig's liver with fury. What? Are your ears as bad as your character? I laughed coldly. Someone like you, a third-rate star, and that's being generous. You can barely carry a tune, and yet you dare to critique others. Who gave you that courage, the Kuto Mango? The insults poured out of my mouth like they were free, and everyone watching felt their hearts pounding. Hua Chenyu trembled with rage, but he held his tongue. In fact, a calculating thought crossed his mind. Let her rant. The harder she goes now, the worse the fallout will be once the show ends and she gets blacklisted. On stage, once I finished speaking, I turned and walked off without looking back, departing in full view of everyone present. The venue fell silent for 2 seconds, then erupted in an enormous roar. Ruo Shi and Jian Zhuang rose from the audience seats and walked out as well. The host scrambled onto the stage, staring at the chaos unfolding around him, feeling the weight of enormous pressure. Xue Qianqian glanced toward the exit and shook her head, a flicker of regret in her heart. Making a scene like this. Forget about competing in the next round. Not getting blacklisted would already be a miracle. As expected, after the competition, the events between Hua Chenyu and me shot straight to the top of the trending list. Viewers who hadn't watched the broadcast clicked in immediately. But what Hua Chenyu hadn't anticipated was that not a single person came to condemn me. Instead, one by one, they applauded. The sight infuriated him to no end. But that was merely the appetizer. The very next day, a bombshell dropped. Hua Chenyu had been photographed in a single night entering and leaving a hotel with 3 barely known female celebrities. When he saw the news, Hua Chenyu panicked. How could something like this have gotten out? He grabbed his phone and frantically dialed his manager. Sister Zhang, you have to help me. Before he could finish, a cold voice cut him off. Your actions have caused irreparable damage to the company's reputation, Mr. Hua Chenyu. Effective immediately, I am unilaterally terminating our contract. A formal notice detailing subsequent financial liabilities will be sent to you per the agreement. Take care of yourself. Before he could recover, the line went dead. How did it come to this? He stared blankly at the wall, consumed by utter despair. Hua Chenyu's explosive scandal swept across the internet at lightning speed. He was surrounded and condemned from every direction, and the criticism reached a fever pitch almost instantly. Soon after, it was revealed that he had also been dropped by his entertainment agency and had formally announced his withdrawal from the industry. The internet rejoiced. Over the past few days, netizens had feasted on one juicy scandal after another. But some began to wonder, after causing such a scene at the semi-final, would Tomorrow Star still allow me to compete? The answer came quickly. After the semi-finals, Tomorrow Star released the poster for the next round, featuring all the contestants who had advanced. Among the group, my face was conspicuously absent. People seemed to understand. Many let out sighs. Honestly, Chen An's songs were the only ones worth listening to on that show. Everyone else was just lacking. Now that she's been cut, the whole thing has lost its appeal. Netizens shook their heads and lamented. Meanwhile, the me who had withdrawn from the competition was living like a deity at home, if not exactly weighted on hand and foot, then certainly eating well. Luo Shiyu's cooking was genuinely extraordinary. Every dish she made hit exactly the right spot. One afternoon, over lunch, I suddenly looked up at Luo Shiyu and asked, "Shiyu, is there anything you've always wanted to do, any wish you'd like to fulfill?" At the dining table, Luo Shiyu froze completely. The moment she heard the question, her very first thought was, he's finally gotten a clue. Is this a confession? Women's imaginations can be wonderfully elaborate in Luo Shiyu's mind. Asking something like that was practically equivalent to confessing feelings. At the thought, her expression began to waver ever so slightly. A tableside confession would certainly be one of a kind, but Luo Shiyu found she didn't mind at all. She tilted her head and looked at me softly, her voice quiet. "My only wish is for you to be well." I went still. Honestly, everything Luo Shiyu had done for me, even though I couldn't see it, I had felt it all. Every bit of it was etched into my memory. From the start, I had sensed that this girl was probably from a wealthy family, while I had no parents, barely scraped by, and was blind on top of everything else. I had never dared entertain any other thoughts about her. From the very beginning, I had encased my heart in concrete. But those words had just cracked it. A single fissure running straight through the cement. The cement isn't that sturdy after all. Right. I'm full. I'll be going. I stood up, grabbed my cane, and fled. If I stayed any longer, the concrete might dissolve entirely. I needed to go reinforce it. Watching my flustered retreat, Luo Shiyu let out a laugh she couldn't contain. At that same moment, inside the offices of White Gold Entertainment, Luo Yangming was leisurely sipping his tea. A man walked in holding a document. "Boss Luo, everything has been arranged." Luo Yangming set down his cup and took the file, scanning it on the cover. A life worth living. A grin spread across his face. Well done, not letting him perform in a professional setting, sending the kid to till fields instead. Interesting. The man looked pleased by the praise, but then frowned. Still, given that Chen An's eyesight isn't great, sending him to the countryside, will Miss Luo agree to that? "She'll agree whether she likes it or not," Luo Yangming said flatly, pursing his lips. "If she wants access to white gold, she'll have to let me give the kid a hard time. Besides, it's only 2 episodes. Nothing serious will come of it." He looked up at the man again. "By the way, where is this show being filmed?" "A place called Wheat Town, outskirts of the imperial capital." Meanwhile, I was sprawled on my bed, puzzling over how to complete the system's new check-in task. Knowing the system's track record, there was definitely going to be something extra required in Wheat Town before the check-in would count. And I didn't even know where Wheat Town was. I'd need Luo Shiyu to take me there. But what excuse could I use? As I lay there fretting, a knock came at my door. Luo Shiyu stepped in, her expression hesitant, as though she didn't quite know how to begin. I waited. She still said nothing. "What is it?" I asked, puzzled. Luo Shiyu bit her lip lightly and held out a contract. "There's a variety show that's invited you to participate. It's called A Life Worth Living." I furrowed my brow, my face utterly disinterested. Luo Shiyu quietly sighed to herself. Then, almost on a whim, I asked, "By the way, where is this show being filmed?" Luo Shiyu glanced at the contract. "A place called Wheat Town, on the outskirts of the imperial capital." Wheat Town. The moment I heard it, my eyes lit up. I stood, smiling. "Sign me up. Register my name." Then I added, "When does filming start?" Luo Shiyu was caught off guard. 1 second he looked completely uninterested. Now he had agreed just like that. "The show starts in a week," she said. "A Life Worth Living." White Gold Entertainment's newest outdoor lifestyle program was built on a foundation of authenticity, no scripts. Guests had been invited from among several of the entertainment industry's well-known names. When the show's teaser was released, and viewers spotted my face among the cast, the internet lit up. Hang on, Chen An's doing this now. Going from a music competition all the way to an outdoor variety show, that's quite a leap. Unsurprisingly, the teaser trended immediately because of me. Director Lee Yiming was simultaneously thrilled and anxious. The show going viral from day one. Wonderful. But what if I lost my temper on set? The Tomorrow Star semifinal incident had proven I was willing to confront someone on live television, and on an unscripted outdoor show, conflicts between guests were practically inevitable. If someone set me off with that mouth of mine, everyone would be terrified. A Life Worth Living had invited 7 guests in total. They would travel together to Wheattown for the first episode. Given my special circumstances, I was allowed to bring one companion, naturally Luo Shiyu. When we arrived at the designated location, the other guests were already waiting. Luo Shiyu helped me out of the car, and as the others caught sight of us, most eyes landed on me, understandably so, debuting with 3 songs that broke the internet, and then publicly dressing down Hua Chenyu. That was an entrance few in the global entertainment world could match. Luo Shiyu guided me over to the other guests. Director Lee Yiming stepped forward, smiling. Now that we're all here, I won't say too much. Everyone rest up today. We officially begin tomorrow. The next morning, the A Life Worth Living live stream opened, and a massive wave of viewers poured in instantly. The broadcast captured every move of every guest in real time. No scripts, just tasks. On the first day, the challenge was simple. With no money and no supplies, everyone had to earn their own meals. Wheattown sat in the remote outskirts of the imperial capital, where locals lived by farming and raising livestock. Qin Xian, Wang Bo, and Yang Yang figured that working in the fields would easily get them fed. The 3 celebrity girls, Bailu, Reiba, and Jing Yi, similarly assumed their fame alone would handle it. All 6 split off in separate directions, and after a glance at me, walked off without a second thought. But before they'd gone 2 steps, a bestial shriek tore through the air. Everyone froze and turned. A ferocious wild boar, eyes blazing with fury, came charging straight at them. Several men came sprinting behind it, brandishing shovels and iron tools, but the boar was too fast. Before they could close the distance, it had already reached the filming area. Qin Xian and the others went pale. Reiba, Bailu, and Jingyi screamed and dove out of the way. "Move! Get out of the way!" The men chasing behind it shouted frantically. Director Lee Yiming watched from behind the cameras, face turning white. If any of these guests got hurt, his show was finished. In the live chat, viewers erupted. "Is this show actually dangerous? Look, the pig is charging at Chen An." On screen, the boar had abruptly shifted direction and was now barreling directly at me and Luo Shiyu. Everyone went tense. Just as it seemed I was about to be knocked flying, I shoved Luo Shiyu aside and planted my feet, facing the oncoming animal with a ferocious expression. Luo Shiyu's eyes immediately went red, but I was completely calm. I could only make out a dark shape in front of me. I'd have to rely on sound to judge the distance and timing. Good thing I'd already consumed the system's mighty gourmet item. My strength had broken past 500 jin. Dealing with 1 pig? Child's play. Everyone watching with wide eyes saw my arms tense, muscles standing out as I lunged forward, a thunderous squeal from the boar, and the audience's jaws dropped. Some rubbed their eyes, convinced they were seeing things. I had caught the wild boar with my bare hands. Special effects. It has to be special effects. Whose bodyguard is this? Who does this sort of thing? Is this humanly possible? On the ground, I gripped the boar tightly, braced my feet, let out a roar, and with every ounce of strength, lifted the animal overhead and slammed it headfirst into the ground. A violent impact. The boar convulsed twice and went still. I exhaled slowly, dusted off my hands. That creature was stronger than I expected. Luo Shiyu rushed over, face full of worry. "You're not hurt?" "I'm fine, don't worry." I grinned. She checked me over carefully, and only once she was sure I was unharmed did she exhale. Then shot me an indignant glare. "Don't ever do something that reckless again." Sure, I laughed. In the live stream, viewers were losing their minds. Wait, who is that woman? I don't recognize her from the entertainment world. That face, if she were in the industry, I'd definitely know her. Curiosity led netizens to dig deeper. Her identity was quickly uncovered, the most beautiful girl on the campus of Imperial University. She had been by my side since I first debuted. The internet promptly became jealous on my behalf. At the scene, everyone stared at the twitching boar, then back at me, and swallowed hard. "Young man, are you all right?" The men who had been chasing the animal rushed over, shock evident in their eyes. They had faced this beast themselves and nearly gotten injured, 6 of them. "I'm fine," I smiled, then asked curiously, "What set the boar off?" The leader of the group answered, "It came charging down from the mountains. It's already destroyed several of our fields, and someone got hurt. If you hadn't stepped in, the damage to our town would have been even worse." I nodded. The man glanced around, then looked back at me with a warm smile. "My name is Guo Feng. I'm the mayor of Wheat Town. Since you've done us this great service, we'd like to thank you properly." His companions all nodded in agreement. "Oh no, please. It was nothing," I said, while my feet were already carrying me forward, Luo Shiyu guiding me toward the town. Guo Feng noticed my eyes and felt a quiet pang of sympathy, which only deepened his gratitude. "Tonight we eat meat," he announced, and led our group into the village, leaving the other 6 guests standing there staring at each other. "Should we follow?" Reba asked as I disappeared further into the distance. "I'm not following," Qin Xian said. "It's just 3 meals, but following Chen An will definitely eat better." That logic immediately swayed Wang Bo and Yang Yang. The 3 exchanged a nod and headed into the village. That left only the 3 celebrity girls. "I am going with Chen An. What about you 2? Reba asked. "I'll go on my own," Jingyi said coolly, and immediately started to walk away. "Then let's go before they disappear." The other 2 broke into a jog to catch up. Before long, our group arrived at a spacious room in the town square, led by Mayor Guo Feng. "Chen An, rest here for a moment. I'll go oversee the slaughter. We'll have meat for lunch." He smiled and left. As the show's viewership continued to climb, director Li Yiming was grinning ear to ear, barely containing his delight. Out in the square, Mayor Guo Feng directed several strong men to hoist the wild boar up on a frame. A sizable crowd of onlookers had gathered. Luo Shiyu watched through the window as a burly man approached the unconscious boar with a knife. But just as he drew close, the supposedly unconscious boar snapped its eyes open and let out a half-conscious snarl. It began thrashing wildly, the wooden frame groaning and rocking under the strain. The man stumbled back in fright. The others around him tensed. If the animal broke free with this many people nearby, the consequences didn't bear thinking about. At that moment, I seemed to have heard the commotion inside and stood up to head out. Luo Shiyu's expression shifted immediately as she followed. Reba and Bailu exchanged a glance and trailed along. "Chen An, be careful," Luo Shiyu whispered, gripping my arm, face anxious. "Relax, I know what I'm doing." I patted her hand reassuringly. Reba and Bailu, already startled by the sight, stared at me in disbelief. Director Li Yiming and the production team behind the cameras went rigid too. In the live stream, the entire chat erupted in all-caps alarm. Then, I walked up to the butcher and accepted his knife. Calmly, deliberately, I approached the thrashing boar. The entire audience held its breath. Wait, is he about to slaughter the pig himself? Did I fall asleep and wake up somewhere crazy? A blind man is about to kill a pig? Luo Shiyu's mouth fell open. She had thought I was going to knock the animal out again. Not this. Eyes closed, I walked steadily toward the boar, which was still snarling and twisting against its restraints. My hand rose. The blade found the carotid artery at the base of the boar's neck with a single clean stroke. The crowd went silent. Merged with the system's master chef ability, I now genuinely possessed culinary skill at a grandmaster level. Mayor Guo Feng scrambled forward, directing everyone to bring a basin. Not a drop of blood was to be wasted. "Brother Guo, would you be willing to let me handle this pig?" Before he could respond, I was already speaking. Guo Feng had just started to mention my eyes, but seeing my eager expression, he simply nodded. I stood before the carcass and found the spine. The next moment, my muscles surged. The knife moved in one precise arc along the vertebrae, a swift, calculated cut. Then came another series of rapid movements. The onlookers exchanged puzzled looks. In the live stream, one viewer, a professional chef, seemed to suddenly realize what was happening. He went rigid, trembling, and began typing frantically. Then I reached forward, gripped the hind hoof, and pulled. The skin and meat separated cleanly from the bone in a single motion. The crowd stared at the intact skeleton on the frame, then at the skin and meat in my hands. Mayor Guo Feng swallowed hard. This was more astonishing than watching me wrestle the boar to the ground. Brother Guo, I'll need spices, vegetables, and fish. Have everything ready within half an hour. I listed off a long series of ingredients, and Guo Feng's people hurried off at once. Soon a large basin of ingredients was brought over. Without a word, I set to work. Seeing me managing alone, Guo Feng quickly called others to help. 10 minutes later, the previously deflated pork skin had plumped back out, its interior packed with a variety of fillings. Get a large roasting rack ready, place it on top, medium heat, 8 hours. I wiped the sweat from my brow. No one had left. They had all stayed, from morning to dusk. As the day wore on, the boar's skin had turned a rich golden hue. The combined fragrance of charcoal heat and over 100 mixed ingredients and meats drifted outward in waves. The town square filled with people who had come just for the smell. I sat in a chair, eyes closed, puzzling quietly to myself. I had arrived in Wheat Town, done something notable, and even prepared a remarkable dish, and still the system hadn't confirmed the check-in. Brother Chen, it's time. Mayor Guo Feng's voice came. You've worked hard, Brother Guo. I opened my eyes, stood, and walked over to the roasting pig. I drew the knife and made 2 small cuts in the golden skin. That should do it. I nodded, and then added, Brother Guo, do you happen to have any strong liquor? The older, the better. Guo Feng didn't hesitate. He turned and jogged back to his house, assuming I wanted to drink. He returned carrying a bottle of mutai he had been aging for years, his expression slightly pained as he handed it over. But to his surprise, I didn't drink it. Instead, I poured half a cup and splashed it over the roasting pig. A sharp, sizzling hiss rose from the surface. An indescribable, otherworldly aroma bloomed outward through the entire square. Guo Feng stood frozen. He had never in his life smelled anything like it. The cameras captured every expression in the crowd without restraint. Viewers in the live stream were beside themselves, clawing at the screen, tormented by an aroma they could only imagine. Then, in the live chat, the professional chef finally recognized it. Shaking with excitement, he typed the dish's name and origin. This was an ancient imperial palace recipe, a supremely refined dish known as 10 treasure roasted pig, long believed to be lost to history, and here it was, being recreated before their eyes. Ignited by a single dish, the audience's enthusiasm blazed to a fever pitch. Everyone watched and swallowed hard. I smiled quietly, picked up the knife once more, carved off a slice of meat, and held it out to Luo Shiyu's lips. Luo Shiyu blinked. Then a warmth spread through her chest. She reached out and gently took hold of my hand. She rubbed her red face and muttered under her breath, "My mouth is right here." Hearing that, I was instantly overcome with embarrassment. Luo Shiyu opened her mouth and gently took a bite. The next moment her eyes went wide. "It's delicious, so delicious." Seeing this, the onlookers could no longer hold back, and one by one they moved in to try a piece. But Guo Feng let out a booming shout. "What's the rush? Line up. One at a time, 1 portion each, no taking extra." Although the Black Clan beast was large in size, we had only just begun distributing it. After I and Luo Shiyu and the others received our portions of roasted meat, we retreated to the air-conditioned room. Out on the square, the roasted beast was slowly handed out to the crowd. There were simply too many people, and by the end, many still went without. though there was nothing to be done about it. Even Guo Feng himself hadn't eaten a single bite. The roasted beast became a sensation, not only in Wheat Town but across the internet, where the dish shot straight to the top of the trending charts. At that moment, in the offices of Platinum Entertainment, just as Lu Yangming opened his computer, his assistant Zhang Bin came rushing in. "Boss Luo, I have news. It's about, what's the hurry?" Luo Yangming cut him off. "Whatever it is, it can wait." Zhang Bin fell silent. But then Luo Yangming's expression shifted slightly as he continued watching. First seeing me bring Luo Shiyu onto the show, then the wild boar at the town entrance charging toward the two of us, and finally the moment I seized the boar, hoisted it over my head, and slammed it to the ground, he froze. When he saw me being respectfully invited into town to prepare an imperial court dish, he couldn't sit still any longer. "Boss Luo, I was trying to tell you about this yesterday," Zhang Bin said timidly. "Then why are you only telling me now? I was afraid you couldn't handle it, and you think I can handle it better now?" Luo Yangming glared at him. "All your vacation days this year canceled." Zhang Bin's face crumpled entirely. People said being a million-yuan salary assistant wasn't easy, and they were right. On the show's side, with the first day over, I took first place without any surprise. Early the next morning, Li Yiming announced the new rules. This season still has 6 days remaining. Your one task for those 6 days: help Zheng Ming bring in the wheat harvest, earning red flowers as you go. Whoever has the most red flowers at the end will receive a mystery grand prize. Once Li Yiming finished, the camera crew started the new day's live stream, and viewers flooded into the stream immediately. I already know the competition format, and I've already put in a word with everyone in town. Don't worry. Guo Feng's voice crackled out of my phone. The square fell utterly silent. The expressions on Luo Shiyu's and the others' faces twisted into something strange, and even director Li Yiming, who hadn't yet fully walked away, stared in wide-eyed disbelief. I hadn't expected Guo Feng to send a voice message like that either. I quickly recovered and said firmly, "That's impossible. I, Chen An, will win with honor." Hearing that, the director's heart finally unclenched. Shortly after, our group made our way into town, where Guo Feng had secretly been hiding, waiting. When he spotted me, he broke into a wide grin and strode over. "Brother Chen An, you're finally here." I smiled back. "Brother Guo, how many families grow wheat in this town?" Guo Feng glanced at the others, then leaned in close to my ear with a dark chuckle. 26 families in total, and I've already gotten all their red flowers for you." He reached into his pocket and handed me the red flowers right then and there, making no effort to hide it from anyone. The expressions on Reba's and the others' faces were absolutely priceless. The second episode had barely started, and he had already swept the board. The remaining days passed in a blur of eating, drinking, and fun. In the blink of an eye, day 7 arrived. The show was nearly over. Knowing we might leave the next day, Guo Feng had gathered the town's residents for a farewell party that evening. Roast meat, cold beer, singing, everyone sitting together, laughing and chatting. Luo Shiyu and I sat to one side. Even though I couldn't see, I could feel the warmth of it all. Wait, something suddenly occurred to me. That damned system. I've been in Wheat Town this long. How is the check-in mission still not complete? I questioned it silently. "Because the host has not yet met the trigger condition," the system replied. I froze, then frowned deeply. Just as I sat there stewing in frustration, a girl in the crowd on the square fixed her eyes on me from a distance. Finally, as if she had made up her mind, she walked over clutching a guitar. "Hello, Teacher Chen An," she said, her voice soft, but clear in my ears. "Hello? I'm anything but hello," I said impatiently, shaking my head. When would my eyes fully recover if this mission wouldn't complete? "Teacher Chen An, I'm your fan. I really loved the songs you sang on Star of Tomorrow, so could I ask you to sing one?" The girl's face was tense, her hands gripping the guitar tightly. Sing. The word sent a flash of gold through my mind. Suddenly, I understood the trigger condition. In the livestream chat, viewers began buzzing with excitement. Everyone at the scene turned to look at me. "Sure," I said with a smile. "Oh, will you sing one of your old songs?" the girl asked hopefully. I shook my head and smiled. "Do you have an instrument?" "Yes." She eagerly thrust the guitar toward me. I took it, breathed in the scent of wheat fields far from the city, and slowly plucked the strings. Let's do a new song. It's called Hometown Fragrance. The moment viewers in the live stream heard the title, they erupted. Finally, I knew Chen An wouldn't let us down. As the strings rang out, a hush fell over the crowd. If you have too many complaints about this world, if you've fallen down and feel you can't go on, why must people be so fragile, so fallen? The clear voice drifted over the crowd. At first, listeners assumed it was a song about wheat, but after just a couple of lines, they realized it was something different. The lyrics were filled with an uplifting, forward-driving energy, like a gentle counsel to those who had lost their way. Remember you said home was your only fortress? Who knew you'd want to keep running with me? Smiling through the dream. I know, smiling through the dream. I know, don't cry. Let your gaze escape from here. Those you long to see must always be your anchor, to find your way back to the beauty of the beginning, back to that original beauty. In that moment, everyone felt themselves transported to childhood, innocent, carefree, without a worry in the world, when home was the only shelter they needed. Now, those sweet memories had slowly faded, leaving only the weight of grown-up troubles. The guitar in my hands kept ringing. The hip-hop groove lifted everyone's mood once more, and a breezy rap passage drew the crowd back in fully. Luo Shiyu sat with her small hand propping up her chin, watching me, her eyes full of feeling. I gradually lost myself in the music, softly telling the whole story in sound. Everyone who listened felt the noise of the world fade away. Then my voice rose with a sudden surge, and the chorus rang out again. Who knew you'd want to keep running with me? Smiling through the dream, I know. Smiling through the dream, I know, don't cry. Let your gaze escape from there. Those you long to see must always be your anchor, for home, to find your way back to the beauty of the beginning. The voice fell. The guitar faded to silence. 2 seconds passed, then thunderous applause broke out. Everyone looked at me, young and old alike, all of them having caught the message the lyrics carried. I smiled and handed the guitar back. The girl received it with trembling hands, her heart already decided. She would put this guitar on display when she got home. Ding. Check-in at Wheattown successful. Reward 1 custom song. Reward Legend of the Sword and Fairy drama gift package. Ding. Next check-in location refreshed, Qin Xiao's concert venue. I am clearly just a blind man, yet someone is willing to offer herself to me, even vowing she'll have no one but me. All because of a reckless system. For the sake of restoring my sight, I have endured this system's absurd check-in demands again and again. When I heard that the next check-in location was Qin Xiao's concert venue, I was momentarily stumped. Who is Qin Xiao? I turned to Luo Shiyu beside me. Shiyu, do you know Qin Xiao? Luo Shiyu blinked. Qin Xiao is an artist under Platinum Entertainment. She released a song about 6 months ago that went viral. Why are you asking, Anne? Oh, nothing. I just feel like I've heard the name somewhere. I waved it off. Luo Shiyu nodded and didn't think much of it. With the show over, I had time to breathe again, but online, all was chaos. Hometown Fragrance had, in a single night, sent music bloggers scrambling to cover it, and on every major music chart, the song swept to the top and stayed there. At the top floor of Platinum Entertainment, Luoyang Ming rubbed his temples, his brow creased. He had sent the kid out to rough it, only to watch him steal every spotlight in sight. He sighed and shook his head, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. Only now had he truly accepted it. The young man was steady, talented, sharp-minded, and aside from being blind, there was nothing to fault. Zhang Bin, he called. The office door swung open, and Zhang Bin walked in smartly dressed. What are your instructions, Boss Luo? Go prepare a platinum contract. Take it to Shiyu. A platinum contract. Zhang Bin's expression flickered. That was the highest-tier contract the company issued, reserved for top-tier stars. A name slowly surfaced in his mind. As the boss's assistant, one sentence was all he needed. No question about it, this contract was for Chen An. Understood, Boss Luo. Zhang Bin bowed and withdrew. On the other side of town, Luo Shiyu looked at the platinum contract in her hands, eyes bright with surprise. It seemed her father had truly recognized Chen An. She didn't even glance at the terms. She shoved the bedroom door open without knocking and rushed in, and then the words died in her throat. Her beautiful eyes went wide, her face flushed crimson. It took a moment for her to react, and then she let out a shriek and bolted back out. Chen An, why aren't you wearing any clothes? Her voice rang with alarm, her face burning all the way to her ears, and the image from a moment ago wasn't leaving her head at all. I'm in my own room, I called back, bewildered, covering myself with the blanket. How was I supposed to know you'd just barge in? Luo Shiyu spluttered. Are you decent now? She asked, still red-faced. Almost a rustling sound followed my words, and soon I came out, one hand trailing along the wall. What is it? I asked as I found the sofa. A company wants you to join them, she said. I raised an eyebrow and said nothing. Luo Shiyu watched me carefully. What's wrong? You don't want to? No, it's not that, I said, leaning back against the sofa with a smile. I just never imagined I'd become an entertainer one day. Can you tell me a bit about this company? Platinum Entertainment was, she explained, a well-regarded company in the industry. She held back the full truth. She didn't want to startle me with the real stakes right away. She had seen the contract terms herself. They were more than fair for where I was now. I nodded. I had no real objection to becoming an entertainer after all. What profession paid better? Of all the people delighted by my decision, Luo Shiyu was the most visibly so. Watching me sign my name, her eyes lit up. She even began daydreaming about what their life together might look like, until the image from earlier flashed through her mind unbidden. She lowered her head, cheeks pink, and quietly pressed her knees together. Back at Platinum Entertainment, Zhang Bin reported to Luo Yangming, Boss Luo, Qiankun Entertainment has brought in celebrated screenwriter Guo Jian. It looks like they're making a move on our drama division. Guo Jian? Luo Yangming let out a dismissive laugh. Zhang Bin frowned. Boss, this time seems different. Word is Guo Jian's Shangxia script has drawn high praise from a lot of people. Should we take countermeasures? Of course we should. Anyone trying to carve a slice off my plate better be prepared to lose a few teeth doing it. Have Long Wei bring out his best work this time. I want the perennial runner-up Qiankun Entertainment to learn its lesson. If you're going to be number 2, stay number 2. At the mention of Long Wei's name, Zhang Bin relaxed and nodded. And for the theme song, don't we have a new signing lately? Luo Yangming added lightly. Zhang Bin immediately understood and wasted no time passing down the assignment. Meanwhile, I sat at home with an odd look on my face. Luo Shiyu had just told me the company wanted 3 Shangxia drama songs written. I thought back to what the system had hinted at not long ago. Has the script been finalized yet? Not yet. I hear they've asked Long Wei to write the script. Forget that. I'll write both the script and the songs. Let's go to the company. I pushed myself up from the sofa. I had no intention of letting these 3 songs be used with someone else's script. Luo Shiyu took me by the arm, and we headed downstairs. To avoid being recognized, Luo Shiyu had put on sunglasses and a mask. But barely through the door, a wave of perfume hit us. I pulled her aside by instinct, only for a sharp, sneering voice to cut through the air. Who's this? Can't watch where you're going. Do you know who I am? You bump into me and hold up my schedule. You two are in for it. The woman's voice made my brow furrow. Under her sunglasses, Luo Shiyu's eyes went cold as ice. Among the bystanders, it seemed someone had recognized me. A startled gasp rang out. Isn't that the blind one? Chen An. The crowd turned to look, and the woman's expression shifted for just an instant before snapping back into a contemptuous smirk. Xiaohua, what's going on? A voice drifted out of the elevator. The onlookers murmured in surprise. Qin Xiao, she came down herself. Agent Xiaohua immediately broke into a fawning smile and moved toward her. But Qin Xiao ignored her and turned her gaze to me and to the sunglasses and mask-clad girl beside me. For some reason, that girl felt strangely familiar, though now wasn't the time to dwell on that. She turned to the front desk staff. What happened? She asked, giving her own agent no chance to speak first, because she knew Xiaohua's character all too well. Xiaohua's face began to look increasingly uncomfortable. The staff members slowly recounted what had taken place. When Qin Xiao heard it, her expression cooled. She turned, and her beautiful eyes fixed on her agent with an icy look. "You're fired." The room went silent. Even Xiao Hua was struck speechless. "Xiao, please, let me explain." She reached out. Qin Xiao gave her no chance. She turned back to me with a warm smile. Privately, Zhang Bin had already told her that Boss Luo held this young man in high regard, and judging by the type of contract, the level must be considerable. Moreover, she had long since lost patience with this agent of hers, so it had taken only this moment to pull the trigger. "I'm sorry about that. I'm Qin Xiao. Welcome to Platinum Entertainment. I hope we get to collaborate someday," she said warmly to me, without any of the airs one might expect. I nodded with a small smile. "We will." I turned and led Luo Xiyu away. As the elevator doors closed, Qin Xiao's gaze lingered on Luo Xiyu's retreating figure. The corner of her mouth curved upward faintly, a knowing light passing through her eyes. "So that's why Boss Luo takes such a personal interest. I am clearly just a blind man. Yet someone is willing to offer herself to me, even vowing she'll have no one but me, all because of a reckless system. For the sake of restoring my sight, I've endured this system's absurd check-in demands one after another." At the offices of Platinum Entertainment, Zhang Bin escorted me and Luo Xiyu inside. "Boss Luo, Chen An is here." Luoyang Ming looked me up and down. "I know why you're here. If you can produce a better script than Long Wei's, I'll use yours." His tone was laced with challenge. I showed no reaction and simply nodded. "Fair enough. Without a better script, why should they listen to me?" "Boss Luo, you sent for me?" A middle-aged man walked in through the office door. "Someone thinks your Shanxia script isn't good enough and wants to match themselves against you," Lu Yangming said, watching on with faint amusement. Zhang Bin stifled a sigh. He knew Long Wei's temperament well. Other people could doubt Long Wei, but if they couldn't back it up, he would explode. Sure enough, Long Wei's eyes narrowed. "You doubt me? I think only I can write a script that does justice to my own songs. And if yours doesn't measure up, there will be consequences for you." The air in the office tensed instantly. "I hear you're a singer and songwriter," Long Wei said, his voice blunt. "The entertainment industry runs deep. You'd do well not to wade in." He showed no deference, Luoyang Ming's invitation notwithstanding. "Sorry, I'm not particularly interested in do well," I replied, my tone gentle, but the words unyielding. Luoyang Ming glanced at me and gave the faintest internal nod. Whoever would someday run Platinum Entertainment couldn't afford to be soft. "Then show me your script," Long Wei said, dropping onto the sofa. "If it doesn't hold up, don't expect me to go easy on you." I reached into my jacket and slid the manuscript onto the table. Long Wei hesitated, then picked it up and opened it, and for the next hour he didn't move. Luoyang Ming shifted uncomfortably in his seat, eyeing me with growing surprise. What on earth had this young man written to hold Long Wei motionless for a full hour? He was about to get up and look for himself when Long Wei finally let out a long sigh and set the pages down. He looked at me with an unreadable expression. "I apologize. You've surpassed me. This script, use it." A silence fell over the room as every pair of eyes in it turned to me. I nodded calmly, unsurprised. "Then let's talk about the theme song." I turned to Luo Xiyu. "Can you reach Qin Xiao?" "Yes. Are you thinking of asking her to sing the theme?" I nodded. "Her voice can handle this song almost perfectly. And didn't we just say we'd find a chance to collaborate? Here it is." Luo Xiyu smiled and took out her phone to message Qin Xiao. Theme song, Qin Xiao. Ending theme, myself. That left one song, the insert track, the most iconic of the three, Biased. And this one was giving me a headache because it required a very particular vocal quality. Not everyone had an androgynous voice. Long Wei, seeming to sense my dilemma, thought for a moment and said, "I actually have someone in mind. Not sure if it'll work." I looked up in his direction. "A friend of mine," he continued. "Not a big name. Hasn't had a breakthrough hit. She's been singing in bars." Not a big name. My interest sharpened. "Give me a listen." Long Wei sighed and played a track on his phone. It was a male voice, or was it? Luo Shiyu frowned. Or is it female? Long Wei nodded at her. You picked up on it. Her name is Shaolin. She's a woman, and because of that, no one in the industry has taken her seriously. That may not stay true, I said, unable to hide my excitement. Just when you need a pillow, one falls right into your lap. Where is she? Long Wei blinked, caught off guard by my enthusiasm. At this hour, she should be at the bar. 10 o'clock tonight. That evening, the three of us arrived at a bar. The atmosphere inside was already lively. Through the windows, you could make out a figure on the small stage. We stepped inside, settled into a booth, and Luo Shiyu looked toward the stage while I simply closed my eyes and listened. On stage, the girl held her guitar and swept her gaze across the room until it landed on a familiar face. Long Wei? What was she doing here? Shaolin was puzzled, but her set was underway, so she couldn't leave. She let her fingers drift across the strings, and a familiar melody filled the bar. It was Hometown Fragrance, Chen An's new song. Everyone who'd been drinking looked up. Shaolin's voice came in, and the moment I heard it, I knew. This was the one. That androgynous tone was exactly what I'd been searching for. But that same quality, when singing Hometown Fragrance, sounded off to the crowd. People around the room started shaking their heads. Some even whistled. Change the song. What is this? You call yourself a backup singer? Get off the stage. That's a good song. Why does it sound so strange coming from you? The voices came one after another. Shaolin smiled faintly but kept singing. When the last note fell and her voice died away, figures at the front table stood up and jeered. Get off. You sound worse than silence. I'm here to drink, not listen to noise. Seriously, what kind of backup singer is this? The insults and mockery kept coming. Long Wei was on her feet in fury. I touched Luo Shiyu's hand. Wait, then called toward the stage. May I borrow your guitar for a moment? Shaolin paused, then handed it over. I took it and made my way to the stool by feel. Shaolin seemed to understand what I was doing. She thoughtfully retrieved the microphone and held it near. The crowd, however, was not pleased. First they'd been subjected to a rough set, and now a blind man was taking the stage. Is this a bar or a circus? Owner, are you seriously letting anyone just go up there? I'm going to find a new spot if this keeps up. The grumbling grew louder. People were getting up to leave. The owner came rushing out and was about to march up and clear the stage when the guitar rang out. One striking opening phrase, and every noisy voice in the room went quiet. Even those halfway to the door turned back. Brightest star in the night sky, can you hear the longing in the heart of the one who gazes up at you, the loneliness and the sighs? The instant those words landed, everyone in the room stopped in their tracks. Shaolin's breath caught. She stared at the figure on stage, her pupils widening. She remembered now. This voice, this was Chen An, the silhouette that walked beside me lost to the wind. I pray to be given a clear and open heart, and eyes that know how to weep. Grant me once more the courage to believe, to push past the lies and hold you close. The crowd's faces shifted, from impatience to something reverent. Every pair of eyes fixed on the figure on stage. Every time I lose my way in the darkness, brightest star in the night sky, guide me closer to you. Finally, the guitar gentled, and my voice settled with it. Brightest star in the night sky. Can you hear the longing in the heart of the one who gazes up at you, the loneliness and the sighs? Even after the song ended, no sound came from the bar. Everyone stood frozen, staring at the figure on the small stage holding the guitar. Those who had hurled insults and mockery just moments before now hung their heads in shame. You're Chen An, Shaolin said, biting her lip, her voice barely steady. I smiled and nodded. This song is a gift for you. If you still want to sing, I think we should work together. Hearing the word together, Shaolin's breath seized. Her heartbeat quickened. Think it over, I added. When you've decided, get in touch through Long Wei. I was already standing up. Luo Shiyu came forward to take my arm. No need to think, Shaolin said quickly. It was the answer I expected. Long Wei will pass along my contact details. I'll be in touch. With that, I let Luo Shiyu guide me out. Shaolin watched our retreating figures, a brilliant light kindling in her eyes. She knew it at last. She had finally found the star she had been searching for all along.